so much hype about the permanent shift to 5'8" for Kalyn Ponga. Mick, it has to be a success. There's no other option. Does Kalyn have all the tools, the physical know-how and the intelligence to make this a winning move?
Absolutely he does. He's got all the tools to make it work. They floated it a couple of years ago, but clearly Adam O'Brien, from the moment the season finished last year, he looked hell-bent on moving Kalyn to 6 because all the talk over the summer was the recruitment drive that the Knights went on to fill that fullback position to allow Ponga to be able to start the season at 5'8". Looked and saw him at the Central Coast Stadium through the trial period, looked physically bigger. Looked like he'd done a lot of work physically over the summer, particularly in his legs and his quads. Look, it's going to take some time. There's no doubt about it. But in terms of his creativity, he's one of the most dangerous ball players and movers in the game. It'll just be how he handles defending in the front line. But look, I think Jackson Hastings, if he can have a really consistent year and take control of the conversation at Newcastle and control the points of the field and their attack, that'll free Kalyn up to do what Kalyn does. And if we can get those origin performances from Kalyn into his club football again, then that'll take Newcastle a long way from where they are at the moment.
I love Kalyn. It doesn't matter if he plays fullback or 5'8". It's up to him to bring those origin performances. And I think it's a little bit on Adam O'Brien too, because we've seen that Kalyn can do it. So it's up to the coach to provide an atmosphere and environment for him to thrive and be that gun player that they've been craving for. Jackson Hastings has a little bit of a role to play in this. He needs to condense defenders, get them nice and square and hold up and allow Kalyn with his silky footwork out the back of shape. So that's a bit of a yin and the yang that potentially could work. But if the Knights are to go up the ladder, it's defensively. Yeah. Geez, they need to improve defensively. At different stages, they'll paper thin on the edges and, you know, Dane Gagai and Bradman Best, they seem to have it sorted. They won the first 2 games last year and they look good. But Frizzell and Fitzgibbon, they're the connector between the middle and the edge defensively. So if the Knights are, I know we're talking about, you know, Jackson and Kalyn to go up the ladder, but if the Knights are to go up the ladder, I think their centres and back rows need to have outstanding defensive years for them to be that team that can stop opposition from scoring points. Couldn't
agree more with you. Newcastle were a club that was built on hard work and Adam needs to get his side back to that. They've gone 7th and now 14th under Adam's coaching regime and that's attitude and it's getting your players to compete and play for each other and that's what he needs to do and it starts defensively and yeah, 27 points last year conceded on average was just nowhere near on the pace for this competition to have success and that's where he needs to fix it and he needs to fix it quick.
Must be pre-season. Mick and I are agreeing on a lot of things. So don't worry at home. In 20 weeks' time, we won't be agreeing.
It's the computer.
It's Michael Ennis lab.
It's not actually me agreeing with you. It's the computer.
Well, the Knights round 1, they're up against the Warriors. They've got a new coach in Andrew Webster. He's obviously joining them from a couple of clubs. But what does Andrew Webster need to start from the very basics with the Warriors? They're back home. They were, you know, homeless for so long now. They want a brand new era. They want to breed success. So what are you expecting from the Warriors this year?
When you start heading towards the teams that have finished down the bottom of the ladder, it's really hard to get creative about the areas they need to improve. To be honest, the Warriors had their worst defensive record in history last year. They leaked way too many points. So they need to firm that up. I think one area they can do is they sort of lack mobility defensively in the middle because you need people with leg speed. Well, you talk about leg speed with a ball in hand. Defensively, you need people to get off the line and be able to agile, be able to move side to side to put pressure on the opposition ball players. But then on the other side, I think, you know, Sean Johnson's obviously the key around that. Look, Cook start, I think that's a solid fullback move. He's going to be very reliable at the back. You know, he's a pro the way he goes about it. But I think Sean Johnson needs to get that. We've spoken about this at nauseam over around Sean. Can he get the balance of being a creative spark that comes up with tries and try assists, but then also recognise what the team needs in decision-making times? He's never traditionally been that game manager. He's always been the spark. But as he moves into an older age and less, you know, footwork and less speed, he probably needs to come back to the team decision-maker and set up some opportunities. I thought Metcalf looked okay at different stages, but he's got a bad injury and missed the first part. Tomato Martin has got some skill out the back of shape. So I think defensively, 100%. You want to move up the ladder, improve the hardest part of the game, and that's defence. Yeah.
The Lab has them predicted finishing 16th. Can you make a case otherwise?
Yeah, I think definitely that they've bought guys that can contribute. So I think they're a better side this year. I like Barnett. He brings a hard edge to him. Murata Nurkore brings a hard edge to them. Nickel Cookster, he's a competitor, ferocious competitor. So he makes them better from the back. And I'm with Coops. I liked what Tomato Martin did at times last year at Brisbane. So they've bought guys that will contribute and make them a better footy team. Will they play finals? Probably not, but they'll be a better footy team.
Let's finish with the Dragons. They've got the bye in round one. It's really sad because there's such little expectations of the Dragons. They were not great through the trials, and things don't look like they're going to get any better. They're predicted to finish 10th in the Fox Sports Lab. A lot of people on the exterior think it's going to be a lot worse than that. Yeah,
look, I think, you know, in a funny way, I think after the Charity Shield, Von, they needed the bye up first, just to give themselves a chance to have a look at the intensity in which the competition is playing at, because clearly they were caught off guard up there. You know, they thought, listening to Anthony Griffin saying that he was a little underwhelmed. He felt like they'd done a lot of good things, you know, throughout their pre-season, and they were caught unaware by South Sydney, who exposed them defensively, really exposed them defensively and quite comfortably, to be honest. I've got great fears for the Dragons, to be honest. Jacob Little has come to the scrum base. He's still young, still inexperienced there at 9. He's gone there for an opportunity. He needs a big year. Tyrell Sloan, I think, is a phenomenal talent, and I hope they're patient with this kid. I know we saw him emotional at the end of the game, and I know he had some moments, but he's a very, very talented boy. They just need to manage him right. I'd be starting Jaden Sullivan at 5'8". They've got a great combination, the 6 and the 1 together. They've played all their junior football together. And he brings an X factor, Jaden Sullivan. He's not scared to take on the line. He had instant impact in the Charity Shield when he came on. But in terms of where they finish this year and where they're at, the Dragons, just on trial form, Von, and on what we saw last year, it's hard to think that they'll make any impact in the competition, to be honest. In terms of challenging those top sides, I can't see it happening.
Yeah, if you're Dragon supporter, cross your fingers. The one area they need to improve desperately. Now, I know they missed round 1. They play their first game's round 2, so they've got an extended period of time to work on it, is their middle defence.
Yeah.
Like, there was no aggression, there was no movement for one another. South Sydney in Charity Shield scored 4 tries straight through the teeth, the heart of their middle defence.
He cook out a field day, didn't he?
Yep, and if that's one area that they want to improve and they can be physical with you. If you go one-on-one contact with Dragons, they'll meet you. But if you have any movement or any decision-making around that middle third, they just lack the awareness of making, tough decisions under fatigue, and that's their key. If they can't get that right, wow, it might be a long year.